Grace, strength, beauty, style, and stamina are enough to test any performer. In the next 2 hours, they will use their individual performances in search of a team goal. It's the Pac-10 Women's Gymnastics Championship, presented by U.S. Bank, and it's coming your way next.
Famous Hoover Tower, the centerpiece of the Stanford University campus and a symbol of higher achievement. That same spirit will be on display across campus inside Maples Pavilion today as the best in the West meet on the same floor at the same time. U.S. Bank presents the Pac-10 Gymnastics Championships. Hi, everybody. I'm Jim Watson alongside the Golden Girl from '96, the Olympics, Amanda Borden. You know, you look at the title of this event, it's the Pac-10 Championship, so you know it's a big deal. But for these 50 athletes, there's some added importance.
Well, a lot of these teams are looking at raising their regional qualifying score, but majority of the teams are already focused on the future and what they're going to do at the NCAAs.
This event has been held continuously since 1987, yet only 3 schools have ever won the Pac-10 Championship: UCLA, Oregon State, and Stanford, who was number 3 this year and the favorite, led by the 4-time All-American Carly Janica.
That's right. They are the team to beat, the defending champions, and Carly Janica has been the leader of that team. She's ranked number 2 in the all-around, and the team's going to look to her and the 3 seniors to post big scores on all 4 events because the UCLA Bruins are right on their tails. They're a very young team. They have 13 underclassmen, including freshman Elise Hoffner-Hibbs. She was a 2008 Olympian and very consistent gymnast, and it's going to be a tight race. But you cannot count out Oregon State and the number 1 ranked all-arounder, Mandy Rodriguez. They also have great senior leadership, and Jamie Lands, the most consistent competitor on the Oregon State team. They are strong on all 4 events, but their strength will be tested right out of the gate. They're starting on the most difficult event, the balance beam.
Oregon State is an underdog, but they have a chance to win this thing. 22 individual wins for Mandy Rodriguez, and Jamie Lands, in 4 years, has never missed not only a meet, she's never missed an event. That is solid. That is money. This is the way we break it down. There are 7 teams that compete in gymnastics in the Pac-10. 4 apparatus, so that means 3 schools will be on a bye in each rotation. At the end of this, we will crown 5 champions, 1 in each event, and our all-around champion. Oregon State is number 10 in the nation. They are 11-7. That is their head coach, Tanya Chaplin, who's in her 12th season. And, of course, besides being a great coach, she was a terrific gymnast back in the day. 6-time All-American at UCLA. As a head coach, she has taken 6 teams to the NCAA championships. She's a 3-time Pac-10 Coach of the Year. Oregon State will start on the beam. They are 5th in the nation on this event, averaging just over 49. And Brooke Barkley, the junior from Coeur d'Alene, Ohio, will start us off. Oregon State on the road last week at Missouri, and she got hurt. She actually hurt her knee, so we guess that she's not 100%.
It's a very tough position to start first up on this event. You have a ton of adrenaline, and this is the only event in our sport that you don't want to overpower. You just want to relax. Oh, you can see that's where nerves makes a big difference on the landings of those tumbling passes. Remember, the balance beam is 4 inches wide, 4 feet off the ground. It's a lot of concentration. Every gymnast has to perform tumbling skills, full turns, leaps. Beautiful front handspring, very solid. Nice gainer layout full. There was a step. Hopefully that'll be the routine that they actually get to throw out.
A little bit of nerves early on. Brooke Barkley, by the way, came back from a torn ACL back in 2006. Get some words from Tanya Chaplin. Over to the vault. Stanford.
Beautiful layout. Yurchenko full, very nice start.
That's Blair Ryland, the junior from Woodbridge, Virginia. Consistently high scorer on the vault, Pac-10 all-academic team, majoring in human biology.
The Yurchenko full is a very common vault we're going to see throughout the entire competition. Takes a lot of strength and power off the board and off the table. Beautiful layout, sees the ground. Slight hop. The judges are going to see that vault all day long. It's going to come down to the height and the landing.
Now let's go back to the beam. Pick up Kessler. Just bounce back and forth. He's ever in action. Brooke Barkley for Oregon State received a 9.625 on her first effort.
Beautiful back handspring, 2 layout step outs. You can see a lot of confidence in that landing, and they're hoping to throw out the 9.625. So every gymnast from here on out has to nail these routines. Beautiful full twisting poke up. Little balance check there on the sheep jump. Preparing for the dismount, round off. 1.5, very nice landing. That is a much better routine for Oregon State. You can see they're excited.
Remember, 6 will compete on each apparatus. Top 5 score.
Jim, this gives you a good look at how skinny that beam is. It's only 4 inches wide. You can see barely her foot fits on there. She dismounted with the round off 1.5. Good form in the air, just a slight step on the landing.
Expect Oregon State to score well on the beam. As I mentioned, they are 5th in the nation, back to the vault, where Stanford is 9th in the nation. We talked about Carly Janiga at the very top of the show. Carly Janiga, 2008 All-American, a 4-time All-American. Tied for the beam championship in this meet last year with Jamie Lands of Oregon State. Talking about a lot of experience. Placed 9th in the all-around at the 04 Olympic trials.
Another very nice Yurchenko full. We've had solid scores so far. Every vault has a start value, and a Yurchenko full is the most popular vault because it does start at a 10.0. She had a great entry onto the table. You can see a lot of height, beautiful form in the air, spots that landing. And really the only deduction was the landing.
And for Janiga, you know, it's all very familiar. This is Stanford's home gym. So when she spots and she looks up at those lights in the rafters, she knows exactly where she is. Back to the beam, Oregon State, and this is Mandy Rodriguez, one of the other stars we talked about at the very top. Posted a career best on this event last week at Missouri, 9.875. Mandy Rodriguez, one of the favorites in the all-around today.
What makes her a great all-arounder is she's consistent on all 4 events. Of course, the balance beam being the most difficult. Beautiful kick over front, right to a back handspring swing down.
Moments ago, Jen Kessler for Oregon State received a 9.80, so a much better score second time. Oregon State has a 9.625 for Barkley and a 9.80 for Kessler on the beam.
Mandy's a beautiful gymnast to watch. She has long legs and creates great lines, especially on the balance beam. Wow, talk about strength, a standing front. So far, she has been very clean. No wobbles, no breaks. Pike jump to a double stag ring. An outstanding routine so far. Front, 1.5, beautiful. She knows it.
You know, Amanda, as I was putting my notes together for this event, I kept seeing Mandy Rodriguez's name pop up at the top of the rankings on each event. You said she's good at everything. That's why she's a great all-arounder. And she just showed it starting on the beam. I didn't see any breaks here.
Well, you know, that really means a lot to the Oregon State team right now. Really picking up momentum. Beautiful dismount right there. They started out with wobbles, a little nerves, and they're really starting to pick up momentum as they finish out this beam lineup.
That should be a big score for Mandy Rodriguez. We'll keep an eye on the judges' table. In the meantime, back to the vault, Stanford and Nicole Arata. We just saw Carly Janiga. The other star for Stanford is Nicole Arata, 2008 All-American in the all-around and a 5-time All-American.
She's incredible at this event. You can see beautiful. The best Yurchenko full so far Stanford's put out on the floor.
Her teammate, Carly Janiga, received a 9.875. She was pretty pumped up about it. And Arata gets a 9.925, almost perfect. This is Shelly Alexander now for Stanford, who, by the way, only going to have 5 gymnasts vaulting today. Alyssa Brown, who was anchor, was injured during warm-ups. So Kristen Smith told me in warm-ups they would just go with 5 unless they needed that 6 score. Remember, 6 compete, 5 score, but looks like Stanford's going to have 5 solid scores on the vault.
They had 5 huge vaults, including Shelly's right here, another Yurchenko full. They put up 5 vaults with 10-0 start values and nailed all 5 of them. Nice start.
Just underway, the Pac-10 Gymnastics Championships from Stanford. Long way to go. Kristen Smith and the Cardinal defending their crown.
The Pac-10 Women's Championships are being presented by U.S. Bank. U.S. Bank. Yes, there is a bank that is eager to help your future look brighter. Visit your local U.S. Bank to learn how we can make your future take off. U.S. Bank, proud to be the official bank of the Pac-10.
We're kind of anxious to, put it all together. We seem to keep stubbing our toe in a little different areas, but we're far better as competitors. The team has matured quite a bit.
Ryden in his 10th season in Tucson picked up his 150th career win earlier this year. We're inside Maples Pavilion at Stanford. Pac-10 Gymnastics Championships for 2009. Jim Watson and Amanda Borden earlier. At the end of rotation number 1, this is Tiana Jean, a senior from Puyallup for Arizona State, who had a 9-9 on senior night last week at home at Wells Fargo. That was a good tumbling pass, but had a bobble earlier in the routine and ended up with a 9.25. This was the big development from rotation number 1. Jamie Lands, the defending Pac-10 champion, on the beam, had some trouble.
Right there in the flight series. That's not something that is very normal for her, and you can see she was just totally shook up as well.
So Oregon State goes 48-7-2-5. Stanford killed on the vault, 49-3-5 for Stanford, which ties their season high as a team. We go to the floor, UCLA, Mizuki Sato, the sophomore from Fair Oaks, California, just outside of Los Angeles, starting the Bruins off, who are 8th in the country on the floor exercise.
There's not a UCLA routine that I have not enjoyed watching. Their choreography, thank you to head coach Val Condos Field, is just amazing. It's almost entertainment.
And Valerie Condos-Field, who was not a gymnast back in the day, she was a dancer and brings that to the floor. UCLA has traditionally been very strong on the floor exercise.
Beautiful front tumbling pass. They bring a lot of style, energy, and what I like to say, attitude. Comes her last tumbling pass. Finishing it out, beautiful double pike, perfect landing.
And a big smile on her face, she knew it. Dramatic finish. And all of the UCLA routines are much different. There's no duplication there. So Mizuki Sato for UCLA expecting a pretty good mark there. In the meantime, we go over to the bars. And Rebecca Cardenas, a freshman from Honolulu for the Wildcats. Arizona just 19th in the nation. They were 8-6 overall, 2-4 in Pac-10. Those numbers are sometimes misleading because of the strength at the top of the Pac-10. Their RQS, you'll hear us say that, their regional qualifying score, that's what the rankings are based on. 4th in the Pac-10, and they said it last week in a quad against Penn State, Maryland, and Yale.
Starting the routine off with a major relief. Nice, Pike Jaeger. Coming right back to straddle back handstand. The judges are really looking for that vertical line, making sure the gymnast is not only hitting them on the releases, but also right there, a little short there on the cast handstand as she winds up for a dismount. Finishing with beautiful double layout. Great start there for Arizona.
Cardenas, another one of these fantastic freshmen in the Pac-10. It used to be that these athletes would come in and it would be a year or two of seasoning, but now they come in finished product already because of the club systems now. They're year-round and they grow up doing this. Just over to the vault in California, and Stephanie Chang, sophomore from San Jose. California's RQS was last in the Pac-10, so this is a really big day for them as a team to really bump that number.
Well, this is a tough event. I mentioned that the start values. It's very difficult to put 6 vaults up that started at 10.0. Performing a layout Yurchenko right there, for example, that only starts from a 9.8. So with the perfect vault, perfect landing, the highest score she can get is a 9.8. On that event, it really comes up to those scores that are going 9.9 and above that really make a difference. We'll take another look, round off entry. Right there off the table, you can see just a layout, a little lacking of height as well as body shape position.
Scores in from the floor earlier. Mizuki Sato for UCLA, a 9.85. We'll try to pass these scores along as soon as they come across our desk, so you can try to follow along at home. A lot going on, as you can imagine, 4 events at one time. Back to the vault, we stay with the California Golden Bears, and this is Avery G., another sophomore from Los Altos, down near Los Angeles. All 6 of the vaulters for California are from California. In fact, 4 of them are from Southern California.
Each gymnast will perform only 1 vault, so it's really crucial that their 1 vault is not only big, but also has a perfect landing.
Remember, the gymnasts have to wait for the judges to signal them, and she just received that signal.
Stephanie Chang scored a 9.45 on her layout Yurchenko, so they're really needing to pick it up. Beautiful layout Yurchenko, again, only starting from a 9.0, but you noticed a lot more height, a tighter body position in the air, so that will score better than a 9.45. Let's take another look at it. The exact same vault her teammate performed, a little quicker off the table, and you can see much more stretched. Spotted the landing, and of course a 1/10 step there on that landing as well.
By the way, the bye in this rotation, Arizona State, Stanford, and Oregon State. So they are all watching. Remember, we have the 7 teams competing, 9 rotations, so there's always 3 teams that are watching in each rotation. We'll go back to the floor, UCLA, and Ariana Berlin, who is an accomplished breakdancer, and a lot of that bleeds into her routine.
Beautiful double pike. There's that attitude I was talking about. And the crowd just goes wild. I think what's so unique about their routines, they pick the perfect music to fit the athlete. It's not just any music. She's a break dancer, and you gotta have the kind of music to match it.
You think Coach Mal lets them pick their music and then she choreographs the routine, or is it the other way around?
You know, I'd have to say that she definitely is involved in picking the music. But there aren't too many girls that can get out on the floor and dance like that.
Yeah, Ariana Berlin danced in a famous dance troupe down at SeaWorld in San Diego. That's kind of where she was discovered. She was one of the youngest ever there. And the woman who did all the choreography for that team, Valerie Condos Field. So, nice little pipeline there. She has a lot of fun with this routine. It's one of those when you're in the gym, you can't help but watch it.
You have to appreciate they're not required to get out there and dance like that. So it takes a lot of energy, and then to nail tumbling passes, finishing with a whip half front full, takes a lot of strength. But these routines will show that the judges appreciate that in the scores.
Ariana Berlin closed out senior night at Palo Pavilion against Nebraska with a 9.95, a career high on the floor exercise. She is our State Farm pride of the pack. 55 consecutive meets for Ariana Berlin, who began her career at UCLA as a walk-on. That didn't last too long. They will remember her for a long, long time. Senior from San Diego will wait for her marks. We come back to Maples Pavilion. It is the Pac-10 Women's Gymnastics Championships. Back at at the farm. We're on campus at Stanford University. It's the 2009 Pac-10 Women's Gymnastics Championships. Hi, everybody. I'm Jim Watson. Welcome back. And this is an old friend of mine. This is Michael Walker. We've known each other a couple of years. He is the president, Northern California, of U.S. Bank, the title sponsor of this event. I've seen you at a lot of events, at the women's basketball, at the gymnastics. You guys stay involved. Why is it? What is it worth it for U.S. Bank with Pac-10 women's athletics?
Well, Jim, we've been the official bank to the Pac-10 for the last 5 years. And we do it because it's good for the community and it's changing lives. And we do it year-round. For example, last week we hosted 500 elementary school girls down in Los Angeles, and they were taught basketball skills by the women's student athletes of the Pac-10. What a great event.
Yeah.
And it changed their lives.
You and I have been at that event before when it was up here in San Jose, and I've been out there, and all the kids come out, all the players from the Pac-10 schools come out and work with those kids. And for you as a sponsor, getting down the grassroots and seeing what your investment does immediately, I mean, that's got to be pretty satisfying for you guys.
Well, it's our philosophy to be part of the community. And again, this is community.
It's all about
our
impact,
future,
right?
Absolutely.
And you guys do a great job. Listen, we can't thank you enough for staying with us. We know it's tough economic times right now, so thank you for your past and continued support.
Thank you, Jim.
All right, Michael Walker from U.S. Bank. Let's go back out on the floor and pick up UCLA on the floor exercise. Valerie Condos Field, the head coach of UCLA in her 19th season. UCLA, as we mentioned before, number 7 in the country, 11-3. And Coach Val, as they call her, a 3-time Pac-10 Coach of the Year. She has turned out so many All-Americans, so many individual champions in the Pac-10, and is a unique and dynamic woman, and certainly has done a lot for college gymnastics.
Commit. You know how he told you before? Commit.
UCLA, 13 Pac-10 championships in the past 22 years. 68 individual Pac-10 champions, 16 All-Americans. This is Sophia Hosini, the junior from California, from Murrieta, on the vault.
She had a very nice Yurchenko layout full. Anchoring with that 10.0 start value.
Very focused on the run.
You can see a little bit bent there on the table, but was able to really get enough height to complete a full twist and have a pretty good landing there.
Finishing up rotation 2 here. UCLA on the floor, Cal on the vault. Arizona has been on the bars, and Washington on the beam here in rotation 2, with Arizona State, Stanford, and Oregon State with the buys. Back to the floor exercise for UCLA. Always one of the highlighted events here at the Pac-10 Championships. And this would be Brittany McCullough, who returned to the floor exercise. Very dramatic at Paly back on February 15th, almost exactly a year after rupturing her Achilles. And she got back into form pretty quickly. She tied a career high on the floor at Oregon State a couple of weeks after that, going 9.875. That was a big meet for UCLA as they beat the Beavs.
Well, you know, with an injury like that, it's not just dealing with pain. There's a lot of mental toughness involved with overcoming that.
Absolutely.
And on this event in particular, you talk about an Achilles injury. I mean, every tumbling pass will involve using that Achilles, as she starts with beautiful double pipe.
Yeah, huge height on her tumbling runs. She just explodes off the floor.
Comes right back with the second tumbling pass. Front full front.
Because of that injury, by the way, Brittany McCullough is a redshirt sophomore, so she still has a lot of gymnastics in her future.
Woo! A great height there as well on the jump, and incredible flexibility. Talk about bringing that attitude into their routine.
Just going to say that. You talked about attitude before. There it was.
You know, you look at a gymnast like Brittany, she's powerful and dynamic, and it's not just in tumbling, it's the dance as well. And I tell you what, I can't say enough how much it is fun to watch these routines.
Yeah, every team has a couple of good performers on the floor, but UCLA, for some reason, and I got to think it's Coach Valerie Condos Field, who allows their personality to come out.
Well, that was why floor was my favorite event. It's the only event you really get to show your personality.
Brittany McCullough, UCLA. Puts her hands in the air. Valerie Condos applauds the effort. That was a long way back from a ruptured Achilles. And her teammates right there have her back.
Take another look at the last pass. We talked about the incredible height she gets. Very difficult. After a minute and 30, beautiful double tuck there. Spots the landing. No deductions.
UCLA's RQS, again, that's the regional qualifying score, and that's how they decide rankings in gymnastics. It's not about wins and losses or who you have meets against. Their RQS, 196.48, second in the Pac-10 and third in the nation. Keep in mind that Stanford, UCLA, and Oregon State, not only the best in the Pac-10, but among the best in the country, all three in the top 10.
And they're #1 on this event, the floor exercise.
Yeah, deserves to be mentioned, huh? This is Elise Hoffner-Hibbs, the fantastic freshman from UCLA, comes out of Toronto, and we knew a lot about her at the beginning of the season, but she has overachieved just the way she has picked up during the season.
Well, it says a lot about a freshman if they're anchoring on events. She's confident, consistent, and can really post huge scores.
And anchoring at a school like UCLA with a storied program like this. She is 13th in the nation on the floor with an average of 9.890. Three-time Pac-10 Gymnast of the Week.
Very quick tumbler, starting it out with a huge double Arabian.
Momentum carried, yeah, right out of bounds.
Yep, couple steps, and of course a 10-4 stepping onto the white.
Maybe just a little amped up in her first Pac-10s.
Coming back 1.5, front full.
And isn't this really one of those moments where a gymnast really gets tested? They have a mental break like that. Now you've got to regroup and worry about it later.
That's right. You've only lost a 10th for stepping out of bounds. So you have 2 more tumbling passes, very important to hit, and they need this score.
Yeah, not only for individual for Elise Hoffner-Hibbs, but of course the team championship on the line as well.
We talked about it with Oregon State on the beam. You come out, this is UCLA's first event. They started on a bye. They have a lot of adrenaline, and what adrenaline does is make your tumbling higher, quicker, faster, and that's the kind of mistakes you make. Taking a deep breath, comes the last tumbling pass. Beautiful double pipe. She held herself together. Nice finish.
Elise Hoffner-Hibbs, freshman from Toronto, her first Pac-10 routine. 32 out of 33 routines with a 9.775 or better. Should she keep that string alive? Be tough with that one, won't it?
You know, beautiful tumbling. Wasn't probably her best, but really not too much deduction besides the first pass.
So we've seen a couple of bobbles. We saw Jamie Lance fall off the beam earlier. We've seen Elise Hoffner-Hibbs step out of bounds. So far, Stanford, without any major breaks, they look great on the vault. And they're in a bye here, rotation 2. One last look at the tumbling pass by Hoffner-Hibbs.
Beautiful 1.5 to front full.
UCLA with some ground to make up. When we move on to rotation 3, as we send you to break, we give you a quick look at Samantha Wallier, sophomore for the University of Washington, highest rated Husky on this event, the beam.
Mandy's had an outstanding season. She's grown tremendously from her first 2 years. She's really come into her own. She's a rock, someone that everyone depends on. She's a leader inside and outside the gym.
Tanya Chaplin, the Oregon State head coach in her 12th season, talking about her star athlete, Mandy Rodriguez. Mandy Rodriguez now waiting on the floor. She had a 9.85 on beam earlier, the best performance by Oregon State on the beam. She ranks number 3 in the nation on the floor and is number 6 in the all-around. Big moment for Mandy Rodriguez. Rotation 3, Arizona State vault. Stanford on the bars, which they're the best in the Pac-10.
Huge first tumbling pass, double Arabian, perfect landing. I actually did that same pass. It makes a very difficult landing. You cannot see the floor, called a blind landing. She did it perfect. Coming right back with her second tumbling pass. With half front full, you can see that expression on her face. She's so excited.
She has not only national experience, but international experience as well. Although Mandy grew up in Southern California in Baldwin Park, she has dual citizenship with Mexico, so she competes on the Mexican national team as well. She really has no weaknesses as a gymnast.
Well, and she's beautiful. She's 5'7", very tall for a gymnast, but creates beautiful lines. She's dynamic, graceful. Rudy, right to Shushanova. Can't take any steps on that landing. Wow.
And that was perfect timing because all the other events had ceased. So Mandy Rodriguez had the attention of everyone in the arena, and a big two-handed hug by Tanya Chaplin, her head coach, and a little smile. I think our cameraman surprised her. Now going to get some love from the teammates. Great effort by Mandy Rodriguez.
Let's take another look at her powerful tumbling. This is her last tumbling past Rudy right to a Shushanova. Beautiful.
Mandy Rodriguez, the 2008 NCAA Western Regional Floor co-champion. So it's one of her favorite events. I told you how good Stanford is on the bars. Number 1 in the Pac-10, number 5 in the nation, and this is Carly Janiga, who earlier on the vault threw up a 9.875.
Beautiful release combination. Another one right here. Takachev, great height, great form. You know what Stanford's known for is showing great lines, but here it comes, the dismount. Sticking those landings.
Janiga, the highest rate Cardinal on the bars with a 9.895, and that number should be right in that neighborhood.
Let's take another look at the dismount. Stanford knows how important these landings are. Beautiful double layout, spots the mat, sticks those feet to the ground. You can see her fight with her toes. Great job.
And Janiga's having a big day now. 9.875 on the vault and comes back with a 9.9 on the bars inside her home arena. And you can see she just spotted somebody she knows and got a grin out of it. Good for her, enjoying herself. Remember, she's just a junior, but having the Pac-10s in your home building, now that's a special moment. Stanford is on a pretty good run, but we got a long way to go. Mandy Rodriguez at Oregon State in pursuit. The Pac-10 Women's Gymnastics Championships.
To learn life lessons through this amazing sport and to have them become the best that they can be. And that's basically his definition of success. So he lives that, and every time I chat with him about something, that always comes around about. So that's one of the many, many, many things.
UCLA head coach Valerie Condos-Field, who's a personal friend of John Wooden, because the Wizard comes out to a lot of gymnastics meets and dresses the team from time to time. UCLA on the vault here in rotation number 4. They are number 1 in the nation. Brittany McCullough, who had a 9.85 earlier on the floor, starting off the Bruins.
Beautiful Yurchenko full. I'll tell you what, there's nothing wrong with these vaults except that they're not sticking up.
McCullough got a 9.85 for that effort. Ariana Berlin, a 9.9 ties a career high for her, and this is Gerber. Asia Gerber, a freshman from Cambridge, Ontario. 21st in the nation on this event. Averages a 9.880, just a little under that with a 9.775. And this is Vanessa Zamaripa, the freshman from O'Fallon, Illinois, the best vaulter in the country. Has 3 10s.
Just a hair too much power today. You can see chest was leaning back a little bit, couple little steps there.
Yeah, looked like a moonwalk, 9.875, still a very good number for her. So UCLA, a pretty good rotation through the vault. We expected that, being number 1 in the nation. Meantime, most of the attention in this building, since we are on campus at Stanford, was across the way on the beam. UCLA number 1 in the nation on the vault. Stanford number 2 in the nation on the beam. Kelly Fee, the senior from St. Charles, Illinois.
She had a very difficult routine. Lots of skills. Switch weight straddle jump to a whoop jump, very solid.
...2007 first-team All-American on this event. As well as a 3-time academic All-American. You almost expect that at Stanford, don't you?
Tumbling pass, back handspring layout, step out. All she has left is the dismount. Very difficult round-off double tuck.
Teammates right behind her.
Nice. Nice job. You can see a little hop there on that landing, but a very difficult dismount, and she was very excited about that.
It sprints back to her teammates with a 9.825. Carly Janica, the junior from Paradise Valley, who is among the leaders in the all-around and is having a big day. A 9.875 on the vault and a 9.9 on the bars.
She's so fun to watch on this event because she commands her body, tells her body exactly where it should be.
Janica, again, the highest-ranked Cardinal on this event, averaging a 9.89, but needing a bigger effort than that here for the lead in the all-around.
Beautiful side, Sunny.
Janica tied for the Pac-10 Beam Championship last year with Oregon State's Jamie Lands. They both posted a 9.95.
So far, this routine has been flawless. We watched her on the bars fight for the landing, so she knows how important this dismount is. Round off double full. Wow.
Just holds the landing. You called it at the time. You said it'd be a 9.95. It was 9.95. This is the only person in front of Janica, Nicole Arata, her teammate, and with that fall, Janica takes over the lead in the all-around. And for Arata, it's very disappointing because she had gone 9.9 on bars and 9.925 on vault. Earlier, she was having a tremendous day until that bobble on the beam.
Another beautiful gymnast to watch. Probably what I would consider one of the most consistent competitors. So very shocking to see her on the floor on this event.
She's ranked 14th in the nation on this event, averaging a 9.88.
All other 5 routines did hit for Stanford on this event. So the good news is they'll throw that 9.275 out. She gets ready for the dismount, tumbling series, 2 back handsprints to double full, and still fights for the landing.
A good job to gather herself after the fall on the beam. 5-time All-American Nicole Arata ended up with a 9.275. So Stanford continues to lead in the team standings, and it looks like Janica has passed Arata, her teammate, in the individual all-around. Rotation 5 coming up next.
Well, right now we have 7 freshmen, 5 sophomores, 1 junior, and 2 seniors. It's actually all of the events have been a little bit stumblesome for us. We've been very inconsistent this season, but we're getting a lot of experience. And I think one of the things that we're looking for is to try to put a meet together. We have not put a meet together yet.
John Spini, Arizona State head coach, the longest tenured coach in the Pac-10, his 29th season, talking about his young squad. UCLA is much like that, with 2/3 of the roster as underclassmen. Back inside Maples Pavilion on campus at Stanford, the 2009 Pac-10 Gymnastics Championships, brought to you by U.S. Bank. Jim Watson, Amanda Borden, Oregon State Vault, Arizona State Bars, California Beam, and Arizona on the floor. And we start with Oregon State on the vaults, and this is Stephanie McGregor, freshman from Calgary, Alberta.
Nice Yurchenko full, a little bit to the side there on that landing.
She gets Oregon State started with a 9.80. Here's Whitney Watson from Oregon State, the junior from Tustin, California. This is her specialty, the vault, and playing hurt with a sprained ankle.
Well, it definitely did not show in that vault. Beautiful height, great landing.
Watson a 9.875. Jamie Lands trying to shake off that beam from earlier today, a 9.85. She's always solid, isn't she? And then Mandy Rodriguez, her teammate, still in the run for the all-around. And she came up with a huge number.
All of them do the same vault, but you'll see why this one stands out with a 9.95. Beautiful height, and I mean, perfect landing.
Stuck it like Velcro.
Best vault of the day, and she knows it.
She didn't even stick around Mike Chaplin, her coach, for very long. Runs from Mike to Tanya, hugs at both ends, and then all of her teammates right there. Live excited. The Oregon State fans wanted a perfect 10. As close as you can get, she got the 9.95. Oregon State trying to close the gap on Stanford, and UCLA out in front of the team competition. This is Bridget Glass, the senior from Oakley, California, for California on the beam with a 9.85.
In the last 2 weeks, we've had 23 out of our 24 performances by freshmen and sophomores. That's huge when you've got a young team going, and we've been asking them to step up, and everybody's starting to. I feel like we're on the cusp right now where this weekend really could be. We're going to put it all together, have the best meet of the year, and could do some really big things and maybe surprise some people. So that's our goal. That is our goal.
You got to love the enthusiasm. Joanne Bowers, in just her third year at UW, and she led the Dogs to the NCAA West Regionals the first 2 years. They're fifth in the Pac-10 with their RQS, which is 194.655. They've never finished higher than third in this event. The Pac-10 Championships brought to you by U.S. Bank, Washington, UCLA, Arizona State, and Stanford in rotation number 6. And we will start on the floor with Stanford. As a team, they are 10th in the nation. And Kelly Fee, the senior from St. Charles, Illinois, her final performance at Maples Pavilion.
She's a really fun routine, as well as some big tumbling. She has a lot of personality. When she nails a routine, it's so fun to watch her excitement.
Yeah, she was playing with the judges when she was waiting for the signal. She was actually facing the wrong judges and did a little pirouette and spun around and waved at them. Started laughing. The judges got a little kick out of it as well. Just trying to loosen up.
Second tumbling pass, whip half, front full. So far, very clean landings. Nothing like performing on this event in front of your hometown. You already get to have fun, play the judges, and then the crowd's going wild for you. This is what we call breathe time, catching your breath for that last tumbling pass. Like I said, very solid routine so far. She ends with a difficult double pike. Nice lift and another great landing. Very nice start.
Kelly Fee for Stanford. And there's some of that personality coming out. Look at her teammates. And a 9.85 is the mark for Kelly Fee. Over on the bars, UCLA 6th in the country, averaging a 49.220. And I think first up for UCLA is Vanessa Zamaripa. And here is Zamaripa.
They're beautiful on this event. You can show almost holding that handstand. Nice release combination, beautiful Tkachev.
UCLA right in the hunt for the team title. After 2 events, it was Stanford, UCLA, and then Oregon State.
Very nice routine as she's winding up for the dismount. Double layout. You can see a few steps there on the landing, and I'll tell you what, if they're going to catch Stanford, they're going to have to stick these landings.
Yeah, they began 3/10 back of Stanford after 2 rotations, and that's the second time today we've seen Zamaripa with the happy feet on the landing. Let's go back over to the floor and pick up some more Stanford. And it's Nicole Pechnik. Pechanica was raised in New Jersey, but to Czech parents. Her mom competed on the Czech national team, and her dad sailed for the Czech national team. And she was the 2007 Czech national champion on both the beam, and she was second in the all-around. Member of the Czech World Championship teams in 06 and 07. It was on the beam for the Czech Republic at the 07 World Cup. And as you might imagine, Peach, as they call her, speaks several languages. Most of them at home, I guess.
on floor for Stanford, Nicole Pachanek.
You know, Jim, a lot of the Stanford floor routines show great choreography as well. Coach Kristen Smith brings that creativeness to these floor routines as well. Opening the floor routine out with double pipe. Perfect landing. Seems like a lot of their gymnasts use more of a dramatic type music. Coming right back with a very difficult triple full. First one we've seen in today's competition. Just one more tumbling pass to go. Finishes with the front. Oh!
Came up a little short.
Oh, her legs totally buckled out from underneath her. Wow. Pressure is on. Stanford has to hit every routine to keep the lead.
Stanford got a big lead early. They were great on the vault to start and built it up with some great beam performance as well. But a few bobbles, and now they're letting the field come back to them. Remember, UCLA 3/10 behind to start that third rotation, and Oregon State just behind UCLA. So Stanford, in front of their home fans, starting to show some of the nerves. The Pac-10 championship within their grasp. They're the defending champions, but they have some work to do to put it away.
Janaga.
Back at the Pac-10 Gymnastics Championships at Stanford, and this is Stanford's Carly Janaga.
She's had an outstanding competition today. But to be honest with you, Jim, if she nails this floor routine, she could be the all-around champion.
And she went 9.8, 7.5 on the vault, 9.9 on the bars, 9.95 on the beam, and her closest competition, her teammate Nicole Arata, fell on the beam, so she has a big lead, and she has 3 big scores. Stays in bounds there. And you're right, anything over what? 9.8, 9.85, and it's hers.
Well, that first pass was the most difficult pass. Double Arabian, line landing. Very easy to not just fall, but also step out of bounds on.
And the thing about Janaga today, she looks like she's having a great time.
She does.
It's her house, and right now it's her night.
Second pass, nice double tuck. Little hop there on the landing, but still very clean. Tumbling pass. Nice combination. Whip through to 2.5. I think that might have done it.
Yeah, that should be enough for Carly Janaga. Now, we're just speculating here, but she had a pretty nice lead. And she nods and smiles and runs over to the teammates and her head coach, Kristen Smith. That is a great performance for the junior from Paradise Valley, Arizona.
Take another look at her last tumbling pass. Round off whip back, through 2, a 2.5 twist. Can see a lip off center there, but very nice job.
So Stanford was out front in the team competition. They had a few bobbles, and the door was open. And right behind Stanford was UCLA. So we check in with the Bruins on the bars. UCLA number 6 in the country at 49.220. And this is Brittany McCullough. Leadoff for UCLA.
Very dynamic on this event. Releases up to the high bar. Comes right back with a bail hand. Very nice toe handstand. Right to a full twisting giant, double tuck. Perfect landing, that's what it's gonna take. They're gonna have to hit them all.
And you saw the number 9825. This is Ariana Berlin, who ranks 19th in the nation on this event. She's been super consistent in her time at UCLA, 96% of her routines. And how about that, another 985.
Nailed that dismount.
So the Bruins starting to put the pressure on Stanford. And this is Anna Lee. Anna Lee, the anchor for UCLA on the bars.
Beautiful height there on that Takachev. Winding up, double layout, perfect landing. Nice finish there for UCLA on the bars.
And a 9-9 for Anna Lee. So 3 big marks for UCLA on the bars, and they continue to close the gap against Stanford. Back to the floor, and Stanford's Nicole Arata, who's had a really good day except for a fall on beam. And
beautiful pass there as well.
Her teammate, by the way, Carly Janiga, who said needed a pretty good mark to wrap up the all-around, went 9.85 on the floor. That doesn't guarantee anything, but just from the sketch we're making over here, she's going to be tough to beat.
She's nailed her first 2 passes. Finishing out, beautiful double pike, nice.
And this is the last performance of the day for Stanford because they have a bye in the final rotation. And the home folks clear their throats one more time. Is it enough for Stanford? The Hayes in the bar, now they have to wait and see what Oregon State and UCLA do.
Nicole, a very powerful tumbler. Taking a look again at her last pass, finishing with a very difficult double pike, nailing that landing. Great rotation for Stanford on the floor.
Stanford, the defending champions in the Pac-10. In fact, they've had 3 conference titles in the past 5 years, but they've never gone back-to-back. They keep winning every other year. This could be the first one since '96 for them to go back-to-back. 5 Pac-10 champions all since '98. And UCLA knows how much work they have to do. We'll do the math and try to let you know when we come back for the final rotation.
The environment doesn't necessarily change that much for us, but this meet will be great because it does simulate the championship environment we're going to experience at regionals and nationals. So it will be a little different, and it will be a great experience for us.
Kristen Smith, head coach at Stanford in her 8th season, and what a job she has done. 133 victories, 3 All-American, 3-time All-American when she was a gymnast, and she was the captain at Cal. This is Olivia Vivian, 5'6" freshman from Perth, Australia.
Finishing with a double front, wow.
And that is big.
Wow.
She's come a long way for that performance. So right now, everybody in this room is watching UCLA on the beam and Oregon State on the bars because Stanford in first place is finished. UCLA needs a 49.150 to take the lead. They are in second place right now. This is Ariana Berlin, who has a career best 9.875 on the beam.
Well, we've talked about this event. The unfortunate thing about this event is it really makes or breaks the competition for every team. Oregon State started there, had a rough start. Ariana starting UCLA off with a very solid routine. Round up double full, finishing it out.
Another solid effort for Ariana Berlin, the senior from San Diego. This is moments ago. Olivia Vivian, the freshman from Perth, Australia, for Oregon State on her bars dismount.
Very difficult double front, and nails it.
You can see the reaction from the Oregon State folks in the background. Mandy Rodriguez. Mandy Rodriguez, who was in second in the all-around. We had told you that Janica was in control of that. I know you have the calculator out. What does Mandy Rodriguez need to overtake Janica for the all-around?
She needs to be nearly perfect. I think it's going to take about a 9.9 or better to take the all-around. 9.875 to tie. for the all-around.
She had a 9.875 last week, which is her season best. Can she duplicate it or even go a notch higher right now?
Well, and she's posted 2.99s or better in today's competition. She's very capable, and especially on this event.
Getting some last-minute instructions from her coaches and pretty much agreeing with everything she's hearing. And with the beaver orange eyeshadow. It's those little touches. It's hard to see from back here, but on those close-ups, those are beautiful. Oregon State is 10th best in the country on the bars. UCLA 8th in the nation on the beam. And we told you that UCLA needs a 49.150 to take the lead. And we're trying to figure out exactly what Oregon State needs. In the meantime, Mizuki Sato for UCLA. And a little bobble on the mount. So you have Sato up on the beam. And Rodriguez is over on the bars, so let's go over there because that affects the all-around as well as the team competition. So here's Rodriguez.
She's had a beautiful routine so far. Nice pack salto down to the low bar.
Has to be almost perfect to catch Janiga for the all-around.
She's had a beautiful routine. It comes down to the dismount. Double front. Wow, slide hop. It is going to be close.
She likes the effort, but you can tell she's a little nervous. It's a bit reserved.
You know, and at this point, she probably doesn't know the exact score she has to get because they're focusing in on the team. Very solid routine for Oregon State no matter what. But this dismount, so difficult to stick it. Line landing, you can see a small hop. Totally up to the judges there.
I've talked to gymnasts, and some say they want to know the number so they know exactly what they need, that it fires them up. Others say, leave me in the dark. Let me just go compete. How are you?
I'd rather be in the dark because my philosophy was I can only control what I'm in control of, and that's my routine. Now it's up to the judges.
She needs a 9.875 to tie Janiga, so we'll check that. Meantime, for UCLA, up on the beam will be Nikki Tom and Valerie Condos-Field with some last-minute instructions. A career best 9.85 for Nikki Tom, a former walk-on. And she got a little Pac-10 experience last year. She was a late sub on the floor. But you can see she's trying to shake out some of those nerves, block the crowd out. It's got to be hard for the Stanford fans as well because their team is done. The numbers are in. And we have the score for Mandy Rodriguez. It is not enough. Mandy Rodriguez, Oregon State, who needed a 9.875 to catch Carly Janiga of Stanford for the all-around, puts up a very respectable 9.80, but it's not enough. And by the way, neither Rodriguez or Janiga has ever won the all-around, and Janiga hasn't won a lot of all-arounds in her career anytime. There's Jamie Lance for Oregon State, whose day kind of left her before it even got started with a fall on beam to start things out.
Says a lot about her, though. She's really finished this meet strong. She nailed floor, nailed vault.
Well, of all the stats in her bio, and it's a couple pages long in the media guide, the one that always gets me is that she has never missed an event in any meet in 4 years. And that's a good way to finish it. Yeah, she's pumped up. Good for you, Jamie Lance. Nikki Tom now for UCLA back on the beam. So that's nice to see Lance finish strong like that.
Another beautiful event for UCLA. One arm front handspring to a side semi. Tuck full to beat jump. See all of her teammates in the background. Very stressful position to be in. Finishing out on the balance beam. In a very solid routine. Back handspring, tuck swing down. Dismounting with round off, double full. Very nice routine.
Yeah, that's a good effort for Nikki Tom. Remember, UCLA needing a 49-150. So Nikki Tom now waiting for her numbers.
Here's a look at her dismount again. Round off double full. Little step there on the landing.
And Jamie Lands moments ago on the bars for Oregon State. This is her dismount.
Winds up, performs a beautiful double layout, spots the ground, and nails it.
Yeah, throws that head way back, ends up with a 9.85. And look, she's happy about it. Oregon State is chasing UCLA. UCLA is chasing Stanford. And we'll come back and finish it up. The Pac-10 Gymnastics Championship has not yet been decided. It's going to come down to the last few performances and a little math. Now Stanford, all they can do is sit, watch, and wait. They're the defending Pac-10 champions, and they are done. They have a bye in rotation 7, so they are watching Oregon State and UCLA chase them. UCLA in second needed a 49-150. Oregon State needed a 49-275. And back to the beam, Vanessa Zamaripa for UCLA. Her teammate, Nikki Tom, right before we went to break, a 9.875. So UCLA is getting good marks on the beam. They have to add it up at the end and see if it's enough. 49-150 UCLA needs to take the lead, and thus the Pac-10 championship. Oregon State needs a 49-275. That's Stanford in the background. You can see all their heads just above that curtain, and UCLA on the opposite side. Would you want to be on the beam with all that going on around you?
Well, you know, anytime the competition comes down to this event, it's just stressful. First event, last event, it doesn't matter.
And of course, this is done by a blind draw. When I first saw it, I assumed that Stanford said, we'll take the last rotation off and put UCLA on the beam. But it is a blind draw. It just kind of worked out that way.
She's had a flawless routine so far.
Zamaripa, freshman.
Round off 2.5. Wow. That's going to be a big score.
UCLA continues to chip away at that Stanford lead. Valerie Condos-Field with a hug and a lift.
Let's take another look here at her beam routine. Very solid, great skills on this event. Finishes her routine with a very difficult round off 2.5. Tough dismount to stick. You can see just a slight hop, but that was about the only deduction throughout the whole routine.
Zamaripa with a big smile. You know, all of that going on, and she's a freshman. She's got 3 more years of this. She performed well. Ariana Berlin gives her that head nod, says, "Atta girl, nice effort." And there's Stanford. Not a lot of chatter going on in the bullpen, is there? And now they see our cameras. Yeah, put their TV faces on. Wesley Mack for Oregon State. Another freshman in a pressure situation, getting last-minute instructions. And a little confidence builder there. You saw the smile. That's John Carney, by the way, the assistant coach for Oregon State.
This is the other freshman, Elise Hoffner-Hibbs. Beautiful mount. We talked about it. They have a very young team. To have 2 freshmen alone in this lineup and then to have them at the end of the lineup says a lot about them as athletes. Beautiful. Wow.
We just showed you Vanessa Zamaripa for UCLA. Her beam score is a 9.90, so UCLA is putting on a furious charge at the end of these championships. That is a career high for Zamaripa. She's a freshman and already has a 9.9, and she did it in the Pac-10 championships. Clutch performance.
She has very difficult dance moves on beam, which isn't something we typically see. They're very risky. That was an illusion. She also did an aerial to a layout step out. Very difficult tumbling series. A lot of concentration for the dismount. Round of double tuck. Wow.
And the Bruins and a lot of fans now who are wrapped up in this, regardless of what color they're wearing. If you're not cheering for Stanford, then you have to pick either UCLA or Oregon State. Those are the only two that can catch that group right there. Stanford in first place, UCLA was second, and Oregon State was third. So you have the drama with UCLA at the beam at one end, Oregon State on the bars at the other.
Well, and this is a lot to cheer about. Very difficult run-off double tuck. Nice landing.
So moments ago, Leslie Mack for Oregon State on the bars. The last performance for the Beavs, and needed a great performance.
Toe hand, blind change right to a Pike Jaeger. Wow, a full twisting Pac Salto. I'm not even sure I've ever seen anybody do that. She has to stick this dismount, winding up, full twisting double tuck, and she did it. Wow.
A tremendous routine for Leslie Mack, a freshman. And just before her, Jen Kessler, a sophomore, went 9-9. Oregon State loving it. They think that's a pretty good mark for them. Remember that Oregon State was 10th best in the country with a 49.110 coming in, but they needed a 49.275.
Take another look. She's winding up for the dismount and see perfect release. Spots the landing and nails it.
And she knew it right away. So she's waiting for her number. Meanwhile, UCLA on the beam just got good news. Elise Hoffner-Hibbs, a 9.90 last time, and now Aisha Gerber, a little bobble. Gerber ranked 10th in the nation on the beam. And ironically, when UCLA beat Oregon State in Corvallis, it was Gerber with the clutch beam performance, came up with a 9.875 to win it for the Bruins. Now she can be the Beaver killer again.
A slight wobble on the side semi, but so far it's been beautiful routine. Wow. Whole tumbling series right into the dismount, finishing with the 1.5 twist.
You know, all year we've been hearing Valerie Condos-Field, the UCLA head coach, talk about her young team. And here in the Pac-10 Gymnastics Championships, she sets her rotation so she closes with Vanessa Zamarripa, Elise Hoffner-Hibbs, and Asia Gerber, all freshmen, and they all come through.
Well, this is another look at this last tumbling pass. Back handspring layout, step out right to a 1.5 twist. It's like she did the entire beam routine in one pass.
So now we will go to the pencils and the paper and figure it out. Was it enough for UCLA? Was it enough for Oregon State? Or does Stanford hold on and keep those smiles as they go back-to-back at Pac-10s?
Pac-10 Women's Gymnastics Championships are being presented by U.S. Bank. U.S. Bank, proud to be the official bank of the Pac-10 Conference.
What a night it was inside Maples Pavilion on campus at Stanford University, the U.S. Bank Pac-10 Gymnastics Championships. It wasn't decided until the final rotation. In fact, it wasn't decided until the final athletes had finished. And even after that, we had to go back to the calculators and the pens and pencils and the paper and figure it all out. UCLA storms back. Oregon State and UCLA both chasing Stanford to that final rotation. UCLA comes up with a season-high 49.325 on the beam to win it. Oregon State just in front of Stanford for second, and the Cardinal sitting by and watching fall from first to third. A tough finish for Stanford, a great night for UCLA, and a pretty good night for Oregon State. Valerie Condos-Field and Vanessa Zamarripa alongside Amanda Borton.
Thank you, Jim. Val, did you have any idea what kind of number you needed on the last event, the balance beam, to take out Stanford?
I didn't know the number, but I knew the door was open. And balance beam has not been the greatest event for us all season, but I knew coming into this meet that we were going to hit it, because all season long, our last event has been amazing.
Well, and talk about the youth of your team, to have 3 freshmen finishing that event out for you. I mean, what was going through your head?
Just do what you train. Do what you train and believe in it. And we knew that they could do it, and you could just feel the energy. You know when they're going to hit because you can feel the energy.
Well, you could see the energy, and you were one of those freshmen, 9'9" on the beam, very impressive. What was going on through the team? What were they saying to make sure that you could make it happen on that event?
We have a lot of trust in our team, and we just go out there, do our best, and we just know we're going to hit. And practices have been great, and we just have all that energy, and it's just amazing.
Well, this has to be a great kickoff. You won 2 years ago, winning the Pac-10 again. What's next?
Going to regionals and doing the job, and it's been really fun because, like you said, we have a young team. So 19 out of 24 performances every week are by freshmen or sophomores, and it's so much fun seeing them grow up in the college world and understand what it's like to compete on a team.
Well, would you think that any of this has to do with some of the stuff that you've learned from Coach Wooden, coming back like this, telling your team that they can do it?
Oh, absolutely. And we just had dinner with Coach 3 nights ago. He's out of the hospital. We went over to his daughter's house. He's looking great. He looks like he's back to being 60 years old again. He's great, but, I just always think about his definition of success. And it's just do your job, do your best that you're capable of doing, meaning leave with no regrets.
Well, thank you very much. That definitely happened today. Good luck at both regionals and NCAAs.
Thank you.
Back to you, Jim.
Vanessa Zamarripa, Valerie Condos Field from UCLA, the champions again in the Pac-10. That's 14 Pac-10 championships in the last 23 years for the UCLA Bruins. And the baby Bruins sure grew up a lot tonight. Your all-around results, Carly Janiga of Stanford just outlasts Mandy Rodriguez, and Zamarripa finishes third. That's in the all-around. Let's go in and check with Carly Janiga, our all-around champion, who's also with Amanda.
Thanks. Carly, how hard was that to sit through the last rotation on a bye watching Oregon State and UCLA pass you?
It was hard. We kind of opened up the doors on floor, and that's one of the best and worst things about gymnastics is one fall can, take you out of meet or, it's open to anyone. So we just need to take this, go back into the gym, and make sure that no matter what the circumstances is, we can just keep staying on the equipment and get our 9.8 or aboves on every single event.
Well, you were ranked #1 as a team coming into this competition. You personally had a very successful day. When you came into it, were you focusing on the Pac-10 all-around championship?
Not really. It's always about the team. Stanford Women's Gymnastics is always about the team. And, I have just as much pleasure when I see one of my teammates go out and, nail a set as when I go out and, hit it. So.
Well, it shows on the floor, and for sure you guys are ranked 3rd nationally. The next major event, regionals, and of course NCAAs.
Yeah, like I said, just the next 2 weeks. We only have 4 more weeks of season, so every single day we're just going to give it all we have and put ourselves in every single pressure situation that we can so we know that we can handle anything.